This episode is brought to you by Elevate OS, the only all-in-one community operating system. Elevate OS transforms property management, combining resident engagement, reservations, rent payments, maintenance, and concierge services into a single super app. It also uniquely integrates access control, intercoms, package lockers, and thermostats, eliminating app fatigue and redefining modern apartment living. Visit elevateos.com/MMN for a free demo and see how they can help you level up your operations. Welcome to another episode of the Multifamily Collective. It is that time of the week where you grab your favorite beverage. I'm grabbing mine. It's McMiniman's Coffee Roasters, the St. Patrick's Day blend. I know we're past St. Patrick's Day, but I was in Portland recently and had the opportunity to pick that up. So grab your favorite beverage and get ready for this wide-ranging conversation with Andrew Kadish. Now, Andrew is the Chief Executive Officer of North Bethesda, Maryland-based Capri, and is responsible for setting the strategic direction and culture of the company. Throughout his tenure at Capri, Andrew has served in a variety of roles, learning a great deal from his predecessor at the company, his father, Dick Kadish. Rather than resting upon the company's numerous past successes, Andrew continues to push the envelope, supporting and encouraging his value team to ascend to even greater heights while growing into new business investment areas. As an active investor and thought leader, Andrew enjoys advising startups and early-stage businesses within real estate, technology, and social well-being spaces. He holds a Juris Doctorate from the Villanova University School of Law and received his Bachelor of Arts from the University of Pennsylvania. Andrew is a member of the bars of New Jersey and Pennsylvania and the Young Presidents Organization, or YPO, as it is otherwise known. And this conversation with Andrew was awesome. We unpack the early innings of his career and the influence that his father had on him and the legacy that his father created, but advancing forward to create a whole new legacy for Capri. This was awesome. I felt like I was in a master's class, and I took 4 pages of notes while I was talking to Andrew. So grab your favorite utensil and your favorite way to record notes and get ready. This was just amazing. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this conversation. You know, we had a few fits and starts in getting it on the calendar, but people are busy, and so that's okay. How is life treating you, and where are you coming to us from in the world?
So I'm based in Center City, Philadelphia. I grew up right outside D.C. in Rockville, which is where my company's headquarters are still based. But I met a great girl at age 18 at University of Pennsylvania freshman year, and she's a Philly girl. And you can take the girl out of Philly, but she's going to beat the hell out of you to move back to Philly. So we've been in Philly now. It's close to 20 years now. So very tough wearing my Washington Commanders and Capitals jerseys around town. It turns out Philadelphia fans, not that nice sometimes. But there's a lot of love behind the gruff exterior, so it's good.
No, I can appreciate that. And there's probably not a lot of love this year, considering the Eagles won the Super Bowl, right?
You know, it's interesting you say that, Mike, because over the years, I'm wearing my Commanders jersey, my Redskins jersey prior to the name change. A lot of people will come up to me with looks of pity in their eye. I didn't appreciate that at all. I want what I got this past year with Jaden Daniels, where it's just simply like, ooh, I like him. And if he were on the Eagles, I would love him even more. And I'm like, I don't even want to speak to you people. So.
So good. I'm looking forward to next season. This is going to be incredible.
Oh, it's going to be fun. I can't wait.
Well, so certainly I did a little bit of research before we hopped on this call/interview today. And you have a very interesting story, or at least it spoke to me. And so I want to dive right into the deep end, and I want to ask you what attracted you to the multifamily industry. I kind of know the answer, but I'd like for you to unpack it in your own words, if you don't mind.
Sure. I'm one of those. I run a family business. My dad, Dick Kadish, started the company back in 1993. We were, or I should say, he was searching for an opportunity where he could essentially develop a public REIT where it would exclusively own and operate multifamily communities. And the REIT, the IPO, he was looking to secure around $250 million in equity. It failed, but my dad always liked to say it was the greatest failure he ever had. He just didn't know it at the time. He had a couple properties that he was looking to acquire with all that equity from the IPO. When the IPO fails, he's looking around, talking with a number of the big names at the time. Sam Zell, UDR had just formed. And when he was approached by a group called Apollo, so Bill Mack, Richard Mack, Lee Nybart, three true New York real estate titans. And they all told my dad. My dad went by the moniker Dick. They were like, Dick, you just came out at the wrong time. And they said, we'll hold you for a year, and then you'll just take us out in the IPO the following year. So my dad starts operating the company, takes the money from Apollo, and he sends up a first quarterly distribution check after he acquires a number of properties with the Apollo monies, and was for about 22% cash on cash, 23% cash on cash. And the story is that Bill Mack called up my dad and said, like, Dick, you know what? Forget the IPO. You're our baby. The only problem, though, Mike, is that my dad loved the name Capri. It had such cachet and such reputation over the years that we've just kept the name. But every Tuesday, I get a call saying, like, Andrew, what do you think of that new REIT regulation? I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. We're not a REIT. But Mike, that doesn't answer your question fully. That's kind of the history of the company. How I got my start was really, Dad would take us to Disney World. We're 5, 6, 7 years old in the car. It's me, my older sister Jen, my younger sister Jill. But first, we always had to make a stop, and that was we always had some communities around Orlando. And so my dad would take us there and just say, oh no, it's 10 a.m. and I really want to go on Space Mountain, but instead I'm checking out, why is the parking lot filled with cars? Why are the lights on outside? Obviously, the maintenance staff's not doing their job if the lights are on. So I kind of got it from the ground floor up. And that's where, I kind of realized, okay, this might be a path that I might want to choose for my career. Actually, at the time, I probably thought I just want to go on Space Mountain, but like that's kind of how I got into it. I assume, but I really saw the love that my dad had for the company, for the multifamily industry in general, and kind of set me on my pathway to eventually take up the top spot here.
So I'm always deeply interested in this. I was somebody who started out on the service side of the business and graduated all the way up to a chief operating officer in an organization, and I know how that served me, seeing every perspective. I'm wondering how it served you and some of the lessons you took from the early innings and how you've made application of those over time to create the success in your organization.
Great question. I think one of the things that my dad and my older sister did. So my older sister is Jen. She serves as the president of my company. And I think we have a wonderful dynamic because Dad insisted upon two separate things. Number one, really start at the bottom, and really, we were working with some fantastic professionals, whether it be on the operations side, whether it be on the accounting side. I remember starting in accounts payable, and that's when, you had to lick all the envelopes, because we couldn't afford anything else. So we were doing the licking the envelopes, and then also going on site, I think, was incredibly important. And I think what really made an impression upon me, and you can see how fond I am of my dad and my dad's memory. He passed in 2020. But what I always thought was so interesting about him is that it didn't matter whether he was speaking to some Wall Street tycoon or whether he was speaking to the new guy, the new service tech who just started last week. He treated everyone with dignity and respect. And I think that was what was so impressive to me, is that my dad, he would always pull up his sleeves whenever he was meeting with someone. And I think immediately able to establish a rapport with those individuals. And I think that's made a true impression upon me. And hopefully, I've been able to emulate his leadership and those abilities. To be able to speak to anyone, no matter what walk of life, no matter what economic status or station that they have, is being able to just see, hey, we all put our pants on the same way, so to speak, and doesn't matter, who you are in life. You can still be a good friend of mine and a great colleague.
So I'm interesting. That just makes me think of culture. Obviously, I don't work in your organization, but I have to imagine you've infused that mentality into your culture. I'm wondering how that plays out in a real way through values that you might espouse, things you might put on the wall, or stories that you might share that relate to that, and how that's just still alive in your company.
Sure. It's one thing we talk about all the time here is whenever we acquire a new community, we don't just say, hey, great job. Capri just acquired two deals or two communities down in Waldorf, Maryland, two affordable communities last week, and we say, welcome to the family. And it's that family first culture that is truly the hallmark, I think, of the Kadish family ethos, is that family is incredibly important to us. One of the best, I think, exemplifications of that true culture is down in our managers conference we hold every year. We've been in Orlando the past few years, but typically it's around the country. Is one of my favorite things to do is I talk about, I have everyone stand up and I just say, everyone who's been here for 1 year or less, sit down. 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And we have a number of people who've been with the company for, we're now 32 years old. We've had a number of companies since inception. And really, people who just started working with my dad prior to the company's inception. And I think we would not be able to have that amazing family first culture unless it came from not just leadership, not just senior staff, but something that really permeated the entire ethos of the company, is that we are a company, we are a family, we treat each other as family, we hold each other accountable as family too. In fact, those are, two of our true core values. And we named them about a decade ago, and we refer to it as face in. So when you come to a Capri conference, you always hear about face in, face in. Well, what is face in? Well, it's really an acronym for five incredibly powerful core values that we aspire to. It's family. We treat everyone as family, whether you're a client, whether you're a resident, whether you're an employee. Accountability. We hold each other accountable in our duties and responsibilities. Communication. I think communication is something that is incredibly important to me because I report the good news, and hopefully there's not too many of it, but too much of it. But I report the bad news. Excellence. We do everything with excellence. We don't, to use the phrase, half-ass at anything. And then integrity. We always tell the truth no matter what. And sure, some of them are similar in mind, but I truly believe that those five core values that we aspire to, we live up to those ideals. No matter if it's me, no matter if it's someone on site. That's truly the hallmark of my dad's leadership, and hopefully my leadership as well too.
I love that. I'm always interested in hopefully I articulate this well, and I'll try to make it very brief, but sort of the family mentality of running a business and a good head coach on a football team, right? And where family, if you think about it in its strictest terms, you can never get rid of family. In a coaching environment, you definitely sometimes have to trade a player or exit a player because they aren't performing. And I'm just wondering how you strike a balance between, espousing the family-oriented way of doing business, which I very much love, and hey, sometimes somebody is not living up to the expectation of the family, and how you sort of exit them. Exit's probably a harsh word, but how you help that person come around to your way of thinking or move on.
You know what? It's a tough balance because at the end of the day, this is a career. You simply don't throw away your family members when they've
That's
done
right.
something poor. But it's also, I wouldn't refer to it as a termination. It's rather that they're moving on to their next station in life. And I think that at the end of the day, we've had to go through some tough partings. Throughout my tenure here, I've been at the helm now since January 1st, 2015. My dad since 93. And we've had to say goodbye to some, key players, key employees. But I think what's incredibly important is that we still hold on to those relationships. Um, I think at Capri, we are a for-profit company, and if someone is not living up to those ideals, if someone is not being able to be held accountable to those measurable standards that we have for each of our positions, then we need to be replaced. They need to be replaced. And while that is it's not maybe, it is definitely the toughest part of the business. I think in my position, I need to care about the 400 some odd associates that we have here. And what is the best thing for those families? And it's not just those individuals, but rather for those families, because I know a lot of those individuals depend upon me and my leadership, as well as my senior staff, to know that, hey, I will be able to feed my family. I will be able to pay that mortgage. And so if we have to part ways, it is done so with delicacy. It is done so with intention. It is done so with a tremendous amount of care, not only just for that individual, but also those people who maybe there was their direct reports. And, we've had, several partings in the past few years, replacing some senior leadership positions. And it's making sure that that person who is on their way out is in a better place than they were before, number one. Number two, ensuring that those direct reports know that despite, their immediate supervisor may be on their way out, is to make sure that we still care about them and make sure that they're doing okay, not just in a professional setting, but also an emotional setting as well too.
I very much applaud that. I've been having a lot of discussions about the word emotion as of late, mostly in the context of AI and potentially displacing people and what the future will hold in the way of skill sets, right? And so
Sure.
I'm interested to learn from you, if you could either go back to, say, when you were 21, 22, 23 years old, or think about it from the perspective of somebody that's coming up in the real estate industry. What would you advise those people to look forward to in the real estate industry over the next, who knows, pick a number, 5, 10, it doesn't matter, but what would you advise them?
Number of things. Number one, say yes. Always say yes. Even if it sounds like a terrible position, um, say yes. Number two, I would say that people are dying to have lunch with you. I love nothing better than to find out your story. Why did you choose to work with Capri? What excites you about this position? It's, I think some of the best meals, or really best times, I should say, are meals that I shared with older colleagues and got to know not just what got them into Capri, but what got them into the industry in general. Also, from previous positions, what was it that they didn't like about that position? Why move on? Why come to Capri? I think that will provide you a great basis for, okay, I'm 21, 22. I want to pick a career path. This seems like what I want. Andrew seems happy. Um, what drives him? What inspires him? What motivates him? And as you can tell, Mike, I can probably provide you, 6 to 7 hours of just stuff that really grabs me. Why I really enjoy when it's Monday morning and I can't wait to get to work. That I think is just an incredible testament to how much I truly enjoy the industry. So those are really the two things. It's saying yes, no matter what opportunity comes before you, because it also helps you determine, you know what, anything science engineering, it's just not my path. But like this, the finance, getting to sit down, getting to talk, figuring out structure, man, that's the good stuff. That's what I like. And really, number two is lean upon your older colleagues. Call them. They want to hear from you. There's so many of us out there that, we've reached that station in life where it's just like, okay, I feel like I found my path. And it's not that I feel like I owe a debt, but rather I can't wait to help out someone and to have that mentorship position. And I've been able to mentor several young colleagues and associates, not just at Capri, but in different industries. And I always find it truly inspiring. Hopefully they find it inspiring too, but really inspiring just for me is just like, oh, I never thought of that. That's a great path that you've chosen. So it's really interesting.
What I very much like about that is aside from the intel that you gather by having lunch with individuals, but the intel you gather from sort of people who've been there, blazed a trail prior to you, whether it be directly applicable to what you do for a business or, frankly, more importantly, in my head, applicable to you in terms of character development and how you lead well and things of that nature. I applaud that because there are times individuals like yourself or people who get into senior level positions, they don't feel like they have time for that anymore, right?
That's the good stuff. It's also when you become siloed, and it leads to it leads to groupthink. It leads to you only learn your own perspective, or perhaps just the people around in your immediate location, your immediate office, and you don't really hear about well, what's going down on site. That's the best part of the job. For me, is going on site and seeing it's just like I don't know, Crescent Falls is not doing so well. Why is that? Like, let's go down there. Let's take the trip out there and hop on the Southwest American Airlines private jet. 16B. Right next to the guy who's always going to the bathroom, and you're in the middle seat. But like, you know what? You deal with it, and you go to the community and just say like, oh, you know what? And I think it's not only do you have that benefit by going down there, but to have that on-site team realize, oh, they're not just in their ivory tower anymore. They care about us. They care about our performance. They care deeply about the community, and also the residents see that too. And I think that's incredibly important. Where if the residents see like, if I see a community and where it has those low ratings, you can see it in the resident spaces, their interactions with the office staff, their interactions with the service team, where they're not happy. So I think it's incredibly important that, I get out of this, the glass walls, so to speak, and head on down to the communities and find out, what the heck's going on down there? Why are we not achieving pro forma or, basically having the investor call us up and just say, man, you guys are kicking butt down there. It's incumbent upon me. It's incumbent upon all the office teams to head out on site and see what's going on down there.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I've somebody taught me this a long time ago. Actually, I think it was a marriage counselor, like a premarital counselor, and I just hung on to it. But they said to me, you can always tell the aura of your home or the feeling of your home. It either smells like apple pie or it smells like dirty socks. And I think it's no different in multifamily, right? When you cross the threshold and you go into a leasing office, it either smells like dirty socks or it smells like apple pie. And, you can take action from there now that you're informed.
I can relate to that, Mike, because my daughter, she celebrated her 14th birthday on Sunday, and she had a sleepover with her best friends. Unfortunately, it smelled like a terrible Bath and Body Works store where it's just they're spraying 92 perfumes down there. It was horrible, but they had fun. There you go. So that's a picture of my happy home down there.
I love it. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit. And I want to, so a company with legacies or a legacy like yours is existed for a long bit of time with systems and disciplines. But there is this future that we are looking forward to where we have to exercise some innovation. We have to get comfortable with adaptability. And I'm just wondering how you balance this sort of long-lived legacy that's been very successful, understanding that the future holds this incredible, or at least the way that people pitch it and sell it, right? AI making its way into the multifamily space. I'm wondering how you think about that and how you position your company related to that.
That's a great question. I'll answer it in several different fashions. Number one, it's a tribute to the gentleman who led this company prior to my dad, Ernie Hyman, Rick Band, who is still with the company today. It's really a hallmark of their legacy and excellence over the past few decades. Why myself, Jen, are in the position that we are in today, where we can lean upon that legacy of excellence. But moving forward, that legacy only takes you so far. At the end of the day, I love the moniker, and I've been called it throughout the years, Dick's son. But you also want to establish your own legacy. And what does that mean? You don't want to just be known as, well, I took the mantle from my dad, and then the company ran into the ground. No, I just want to continue that excellence and perhaps aspire to even greater heights. And so one of those things that we have done is in 2020, I hired a gentleman by the name of Savis Karas. Savis serves as our Chief Transformation Officer. And what he has done is really combine the greatest skills of restructuring the organization to achieve efficiency throughout. So we are, lean. We're not one of these older, stodgy companies or anything. With young leadership. And when I took over, I had just turned 35, so I think I finally knew what a cap rate was when I finally took over. I just learned that, how to read a balance sheet. But I was always interested in the new technologies, but there's just so much that's flooding out there. I think what David has done is give us that organizational discipline and a excellent approach to, at the end of the day, we're not going to be a CBRE. We're not going to be a Blackstone. We're not going to be throwing, several $billion, towards a tech stack, because we don't need that kind of tech stack. We can still achieve excellence, but it's important that the monies that we do have go to a very, very efficient technological approach. I think we also take it from the standpoint where now is not the proper time where I don't believe, and Savas and I always have this conversation. AI is not replacing people at our company. AI is making it incredibly more efficient. Whether it's a ChatGPT model or something like that, it's going to help you achieve greater objectives. You can hone your strategy. But right now, we're not at the standpoint in terms of the technological advancement that AI will certainly bring and maybe forward in the future. But I don't think we're at that standpoint right now. I think humans are incredibly important to this business, because at the end of the day, Robot Mike and Robot Andrew are not having this conversation. We're not shaking hands and closing that deal. It's all about ideals. It's all about, trust. It's all about integrity. And that, I don't think AI can ever replace. Might help you hone down that strategy. Might help you, provide targets for your acquisitions. Might help you make your job more efficient, so you can respond to more emails, make that box of your acquisition parameters and targets that much more fine line. But we don't see a future without humans in our business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's, to the extent that you can adopt and integrate automation into your organization such that you can eliminate distractions from you and I looking at each other in the eye and developing a relationship.
Yes.
I think, to your point, this is a relationship-driven business, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, if I could eliminate the need for me to look over 50 mock drafts for the Washington Commanders, that would be amazing. But I don't think that's happening anytime soon. So
That's right. That's exactly. I love that. Well, I want to talk about, you made a recent venture, I'll call it, into student housing.
Yes.
And so I want to maybe talk about why, What was it that you saw out on the horizon that made you attracted to that particular avenue? And so kind of unpack that for us, if you don't mind.
A sure thing. I think this was kind of a opportunistic investment for us. It's also something that we have never been averse to trying new things. I think at the end of the day, what I can distill it and really boil it down to is no matter the age of the resident, no matter what station, no matter what economic status, that resident not only wants but deserves great service. And I think, from my experience, what's cool is, outside my window, I can see my alma mater, University of Pennsylvania, and I had Campus Apartments was my landlord. So David Edelman, just amazing, real estate guy, and really built up that structure. And they were an exceptional landlord. And I think what made them so great is that they demanded and they extolled, great service to their residents, even though they were students and frat guys and sorority sisters and all that stuff. And really, how we came into this investment opportunity is that one of our partners was former chairman of the board of trustees at Florida Gulf Coast University, and he was saying, Andrew, I know you guys, are looking at sectors because you guys have been value add guys before value add was ever created as a moniker or as a term of art. Number two, you guys have been affordable guys, really doing, have passionate, workforce housing aspirations, have passion for doing light tech development. We've done BTR, just finished our first BTR community down in Greenville, South Carolina last year. And, we're at 95% lease, doing great. Have a development pipeline as well, too. So while, we have the backbone of the value add and the workforce housing, doing BTR, doing development, I thought student housing, this would be a fantastic opportunity for really taking what we have learned from all these different sectors and distill it down to offering great service. So I think, number one, had a partner interested. Number two, taking what we've learned from those other sectors and pushing and moving it forward into the student housing opportunity. And number three, it was a great buy. It was, we think that, the current, or I should say the former owner did a good job, but it allowed us the opportunity where there's some meat on the bone, so to speak, in terms of a value add and offering a better living experience for those residents, offering a better amenity package for those students, student residents. So it really just made sense to us, where we didn't see a tremendous lead. Now, going into leasing season, I'm going to be freaking out a little bit.
Yeah.
I think everyone on the operations team is like, hey, Andrew, here's an idea. Drink a beer, maybe. Okay, take it easy. We're on top of this, so we are planning. So it'll definitely be a unique experience for us. But I have such an amazing team supporting me, an amazing team supporting Jen too, and I think that this will be a wonderfully prosperous and fantastic opportunity for us moving forward in the student housing sector.
I'm only laughing aggressively because last fall, I guess it is, I moved my daughter into an apartment community here in Atlanta. She's
Nice.
Kennesaw State University, but I never been around. I've heard of student housing, obviously being in the multifamily use,
Sure.
but I've never been around this choreographed effort of moving in 400 people or 800 people in one day. And they ran us through this system, and I was quite impressed by it. But to your point about being nervous, I get it.
It is okay. It's not a military operation. It's kind of a military operation though, especially, and it's that 2 week turnover, or really 1 week turnover, where it's just like everyone is on site, just turn. And then it's also the sheer fact is, I'm talking with my head of construction, Chris Pilato, how are we going to do this? In terms of massive interior renovations, a beautiful exterior package, great amenity package. How do we do this and not truly affect our residents, because at the end of the day, like, you got 4 years, really, maybe you take a fifth year or something like that, but really it's 4 years at the end. We need to ensure this is the greatest 4 years of their life. And I don't want to be the reason, and I don't want their landlord to be the reason that, oh man, it was an amazing experience. Remember like how our, community was just terribly under construction and whatnot. So it's really coming up with a finely tuned, detailed renovation plan to ensure that they're having a great time. Whatever disturbance that we may cause, it is at a minimal level, whether noise, whether, have to move people out or whatnot. We need to ensure that they're still having a great time there because they're a resident and they deserve that.
I agree. You've said it probably no less than 8 times. It's just a word, and the word is care. And I think it comes out of you in spades. And I think I have to imagine that this effort in student housing is underpinned by a level of care that will influence every decision you make or your team makes, in making sure that experience is really good for those
So
residents.
we started a charitable organization at Capri, and it's called Capri Cares. And really it started, a number of years ago. God, it's got to be at least 10, 15 years now. And it really started as, hey, we're a team of, 400, 450 at the time, associates, and we all go through those times in our lives. And it's whether it's depression, whether it's grief, whether it's, lost someone close to us, whether, a family member lost something. And it really came, you know, the genesis of it was, we care for one another. What can we do to help out one another? And, it became kind of like a monetary donation, hey, let's help out Bob, just lost his wife, whether it's a meal train or whatnot. But really, spurred forth, and it's become not just community wide, but really company wide. As a total, we're helping each other out in different parts of the country. At one point, we were about 22 states, and be able to have, guys from New York helping out those, down in Alabama, I think is a tribute to just, again, Mike, that great culture that we have here, that we do care for one another. And I think that it's just an incredibly important thing that really drives the company today. And sure, we're for profit. We love to make as much money as we can so we can afford going to these ridiculously expensive Commanders games and Caps games. But I wouldn't enjoy my job as much as I do if I didn't have the amazing people that work here today.
That's incredible, incredibly admirable. Yeah, absolutely appreciate that. Let's shift gears before
Sure.
we come to a close here. I'm just interested in two things: future of Capri as you see it today, whether it be 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And then I ask this of all leaders when I do these interviews, is like, what is a book that you have read in the past, you are currently reading today, and how, what kind of lessons, or what lessons are you taking from those readings that you're applying to your business?
Yeah, great question. It's oh man, it's I'm a huge reader, so I read about a book. Used to be a book a week, but now it's probably a book every 10 days, 14 days. I got to get back on the horse again. But this is going to be kind of out of left field, but one of my favorite books is Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. And it's a fantasy, it's a fiction book, fantasy, and it's all about, how over generations there's this, they're talking about separate characters, but truly the building of an amazing church that dominates this medieval English town. And it's, what I really took from it is just like brick by brick, and how to structure it so that it's just an amazing, edifice at the end of the day. In fact, the author, Ken Follett, talks about when he goes, and I remember this, it was from the foreword to the book, when he goes to Europe, a lot of people, what they do is they go to Notre Dame, they go to Westminster Abbey, and they go for an hour or two, and they say it's, well, we do a church, we'll do a church today and do it. And he goes there for like 5, 6 days to really study the architecture behind it, the artwork that's involved, who was really created it, who actually led to it, not just being a beautiful building that existed for a period of time, but rather over the centuries, who really led the restoration and whatnot and maintained the beautiful architecture and art and whatnot, and really cemented its legacy and ethos today. And I think that really speaks to me. And I kind of compare it to, how do I take what my dad created, that legacy, that excellence, how do I manage it for not just the current, but how do I bring it forth into the future and make it an even better experience, not just for residents, not just for my colleagues, not just for our investors, but really all of us in totality. So that's a book that I always lean upon, and I always think about that. Mike, you're asking about the future of Capri, and right now I always refer to ourselves as a mid-major player. We are never going to be, and John Morgan's a friend of mine, and his office is way down there out in the burbs, but what they have done at Morgan is just incredible. 95,000 units or something like that. Toby Bizzuto of Bizzuto, and Bizzuto and Capri did some joint ventures together, and Toby's another leader, just like John, two amazing, great leaders. And they've created incredibly large, wonderful companies. But I just don't think that's us. I see us more as like that mid-major player. We're always going to be operating around the 10,000 to 20,000 units. In fact, maybe 25,000 units. One goal that we have is 25,000 units by 2029. And, well, how the heck are we going to do that? Well, it's a combination. Right now we're about 50% owned and managed and 50% third-party managed. And it's two wonderful business lines for us. We give great thought and care to not just our own properties, but also third-party managed, because our third-party managed deals, or communities, I should say, we don't just third-party manage for everyone. We have to have that great relationship with those people. It's starting off as just, okay, we'll just do it for friends and family. And then we've really professionalized the organization and really made it, a true, key business line for the company. But I think expanding our company from where we are today, 11,000 units up to 25,000, will give us a couple of things. Number one, surely it's a greater cachet and reputation in the marketplace that when we're, down to that final 2 or 3 buyers, that Capri will have that much bigger name. Certainly helps out, the brokers and the sellers out there that know who we are. Number two, just insurance. I mean, insurance is just killing us, killing the whole industry nowadays. I'm sure everyone's feeling that. But I think having that diversified portfolio, across geography, across the eastern half of the United States will certainly help. Number three, in terms of renovation capabilities, it really gives us, great value and discounted value to the amount of bulk that we can purchase and acquire, for renovations, which is really, kind of the, one of the things that we do best at here, in terms of offering a unique amenity package, a unique interior renovation package to all of our residents. And, fourth is, we have capacity, we have room to grow. We want to get bigger. And it's not we want, we will get bigger. And I think it's something that, I'm not embarrassed or humble enough to not say we are an excellent team. And we want to be able to offer those services, not just to more residents, but more communities. And investors want to do business with us because we have shown over these past 32 years that we are a player and we do our job right, and we can deliver excellent returns to our investors and an amazing living experience for our residents. So why not share it with more people?
That's so great. I have no doubt you'll achieve 25 by 29. That's no
Thanks,
doubt
man. I
about it.
appreciate it.
I'm really inspired. I maybe in cap with, is there something that I've not asked you that you would think is important for our listeners and our viewers to hear?
I guess what excites me about coming to work in the morning,
Mm.
why I love this industry, is that no day is ever the same. And sure, you'll have your weekly meetings. I have my Monday morning action call with the entire team. We have our 11 a.m. investments team call. But invariably, at 9 a.m., I'm talking with a guy from Wall Street. At 11 a.m., I'm talking with a leasing agent out in St. Louis who is taking care of a $30 million community that day because the community manager has the flu and the service manager is out on vacation. At 4 o'clock, I'm dealing with a fire. At 5 p.m., there's a flooding issue. Then, I hear about another tariff being. It's always different. And I think how you respond to that is just kind of going to give you some solace if you stay stable, if you can work through those cycles. Because that history, and that's Capri has been through many, many economic cycles and been successful. Whether it's a down period or whether it's, the golden age, when remember the condo craze and all that good stuff. But I think that's what I truly love is waking up in the morning where it's a little bit of uncertainty. I wonder what's going to happen today. Going to a job and just doing the same thing, fitting widget into widget. It's just, that wouldn't excite me. I love the fact that there's something different every single day that I can sink my teeth into, rely upon my team, and also use a little bit of my smarts to fix that issue, replace that part. I think that's one of the best things about my job.
Yeah. It's never a dull moment, as they say.
Never a dull moment, ever.
Well, Andrew, this has been an absolute pleasure. I want to end by giving you the opportunity to tell people where they might learn more about CapREIT and or contact you directly if you're open to that.
Oh, sure. It's you can easily see our website. It's www.capreit.com. So CAPREIT.com. Remember, we're not a REIT, just in our name though. And my email address, and I'm looking at mock drafts like I spoke about before, but I can be reached at akadish@capreit.com. Would love to hear from you. And as you can tell from my experience with Mike here, I never shut the hell up anyway. So I'm a good conversationalist. Great guy to have at a dinner.
Thank you very much, Andrew. I appreciate it. For everyone else, we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Thanks.